As music producers and as mixing and mastering engineers, we have a specific way of working on our projects, right? But there are some mistakes that we also do, which we don't even realize at times, but then it becomes hard for us to change later on. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about 5 things that every music producer does, which is actually not helping them to grow as a music producer. The number one and the most important point that a lot of us fail to do is organizing our tracks before we start mixing the project. The moment we finish composing a song, the moment we have all our tracks, our immediate reflex is to put it in a project and then start mixing. You put the vocals first or you put the drums first and then start, mixing it accordingly. But what happens is, if your project doesn't look organized, if you don't know where the verse comes, where the pre-chorus comes, which tracks have percussion in it, or which tracks have higher frequency elements like the violin and the flute and things like that, if you're not able to look at it visually and identify all these elements, then your track is not organized. So if your track is not organized, every time you need to play a track to identify what that track has. Is it an instrument or is it a vocal track? You need to understand what the track has. So right from naming a track to color coding it, giving it markers and identifying what exactly that portion of the track is. Is it the verse or is it the chorus? Is it an instrument solo? If it is an instrument solo, which track do you want to highlight most? Is it the electric guitar or is it a flute? So all those things has to be visually identifiable when you open a track. Only then your mixing works will be very easy. If your track is not organized, then it will be very difficult to handle a project session. A lot of people skip this step of organizing the track. Even I sometimes skip this step. But then as I keep mixing the track, I understand how hard it is and how easy it would have been had I known, okay, this part is the verse or this part is the chorus. First of all, arrange the tracks in order, name them, color code them, group them into particular groups like a drum group, a vocal track group, and after you do that, you can name them according to the order of the song. Say for example, it's the verse and then comes the pre-chorus and then the chorus and intro and then you have an instrument solo, so on and so forth. Once your project is organized in this way, your mixing work will be faster. Number 2 mistake that a lot of us do is cutting all the low frequencies in almost all the tracks. Yes, you're right, low frequencies occupy a lot of space, occupy a lot of headroom in a mix and you need to cut it. But there is a certain level that you need to cut for each track. It is not a constant level for all the tracks. For example, if you have a 60 Hz cut or an 80 Hz cut in a vocal track, you can't do that same 80 Hz cut in a bass track, correct? Because bass frequencies are needed. And if you cut that, there's no point in adding a bass. It is not the constant, range that you need to cut for all the tracks. So it all comes down to listening to the track and understanding what frequencies that track has. And depending on that only you can cut. If it is a vocal track, do the low cut frequency and check up till where the sound is not compromised, okay? The moment you hear that the sound is compromised, go a little bit back, okay? Don't go forward after that in your EQ plugin. Make sure you don't overcut or, lose all the frequencies that are actually needed. Number 3, when it comes to melodies. When you are composing a song, don't just have one melody to it, okay? Counter melodies play an important role in any kind of songs that you make. For example, you have a song that just has 2 notes in it as a melody. So I'm just shifting between C and G. C and G. If you continue to keep doing that same shift throughout the song, then your song is not exciting. Your song doesn't, grasp the listener's ear. Your song doesn't give that excitement feeling. In order to give that excitement, in order to make the listener engrossed in your song, you need to give counter melody. So counter melodies means that you have another melody going over the first melody that you played, okay? So if your song is in the key of C major scale, you have a normal melody that has probably 3 notes, C, D and A. You keep shifting over that. Now you have a counter melody that plays after a couple of bars and that has probably, G, C and then E, and you keep shifting between that. So what happens now is that initially when the song plays, your normal melody starts playing, and just when it's about to get a little bit monotonous, this counter melody comes into play, and that is the time when the listener gets, grasped to your song. Okay, there's something else going on that keeps the track exciting. Number 4, and this is a very important tip, and this tip is listening to your mastered output on a lot of speaker setups. So if you are a person who mixes tracks and masters tracks using a speaker, and you finish mastering your track by just referencing it through a speaker, later on when it's out on a streaming platform, and if you listen to it through your car speakers, it might not sound great. And that is the reason because you did not check your mix in a car speaker. For example, if the bass frequency is very low in your monitors, in your studio monitors, it might be a little too boomy in a car. So you might have to cut it a little bit. So all those minute changes, you will understand it only when you reference and listen to it on other tracks, okay? Otherwise, the only way by which people can fully be excited about your track is when they also have the same speakers and listen to it in the same speaker, okay? So in order to make your song sound good on all the stereo platforms, you need to check them in all those speakers first before you release it on any streaming platform, okay? So what I do is once I finish mastering a track, I listen to it through headphones and then I listen to it through my phone speaker. I have a small Bluetooth speaker that I connect to my phone, so I have a reference check through that. I do a reference check in my car, and these are pretty much the reference checks that I do. So it's good to have multiple reference checks so that you know where something is missing and where something is boosted a lot, and with regards to that you will be able to make changes to your master track, and by this way your track will sound good on almost all the speaker systems. The fifth point and the most important point of all, which I've also mentioned in a lot of videos, is practicing your skill. Practice, keep practicing as much as you can, okay? You may not see the progress within a day, but over time you'll be able to see how much growth you have. And if you are interested in a particular portion, for example, if you love mixing, you will not become a better mix engineer in a week. It takes a lot of time. You need to practice. And by practice, I'm not just meaning, only when you get projects you need to practice. No, that is not what I'm meaning. Even on the days when you don't get projects, you need to sit, compose a track, and then try to mix that, make it sound good. Keep learning through a lot of YouTube videos, but don't just stop learning. Just practically apply it to the track and then do it. Only that will give you success. Only that will give you growth. So whatever field you love and whatever field you want to learn more, sit on it for hours and practicing. Only when you keep practicing and only when you understand the differences that you learn through it, only then there will be growth. But if you don't practice your skills and if you only continue to, for example, take projects or only concentrate on a particular thing on one day alone, leave it for the next day, then your growth will be very, very slow. So if you need real good growth and if you want to be the master of your skill, you need to practice, put in the hours and work every single day. So these are the 5 mistakes that a lot of people generally do, and I thought I'll just share it with you so that you guys will understand where you stand at and probably avoid these mistakes and grow as a better producer. I hope this video was useful, and if you want to learn more tutorials on music production, I'll put a link over here so that you can click and learn about music production. Thank you so much for watching. Keep making music, and I'll see you guys in another video.